Hey guys, what's up? It's iFlynn here, and today we're going to be talking about how to play Mirage. Now, it's actually really easy to play Mirage. Press 1, then press 3, and then shoot the bad guy. And if that's all you're here for, click off the video because that is literally it. As for modding, mod as much power strength as possible, as much power duration as possible, and you're done. You don't even have to care about efficiency. Like, just throw on Blind Rage, don't throw on Streamline, don't throw on Fleeting. You don't have to care about range, throw on Narrow-Minded. Every single power strength mod, every single power duration mod you can fit on, go ahead, fit it on. You don't even necessarily have to mod for Vitality because she is just naturally a squishy frame, so she's going to die really fast anyway, so you don't necessarily need it. And then that's it. That's how you play Mirage. Now, of course, there's a little bit more to it, right? Like, whenever it comes to playing a Warframe, you kind of want to know, well, what other areas can playing this frame help me in, right? Other than just damage. And I felt like instead of just, like, demonstrating the fact that, oh yeah, you press 1, you press 3, and you deal more damage, let's talk a little bit more about how that can help out with the likes of gas damage or slash damage or, you know, the type of builds that I show with my build videos, right? The Hunt Munition, Viral, Slash, Prime Beam mod, Prime Expel mod, all that jazz. So, yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spawn in level 160 heavy gunners, right? So we're going to test with no buff, right? And then we're going to test with the Eclipse buff, which is her third ability, which is a multiplicative damage buff, which is crazy. And then we're also going to test with the 3 and the 1 turn on at the same time. So the first ability is called Hall of Mirrors, and that is the one where she makes her doppelgangers, right? Now, they don't deal the full damage, and they don't get the buff from Eclipse, but they do help out with your damage regardless. It's the damage buff, and they can also allow you to hit multiple enemies with the likes of a bow and arrow or archoplasm or whatever, right? It like covers a horizontal area because they're to your left and to your right, basically. So you're hitting more bad guys with every single shot that you let out. So let's go ahead and take a look at the build first and foremost. Now, this is the build that I use within reason whenever it actually loads. There we go. This is the build that I use within reason. It still has the defensive mod on there. So let's say you're doing like 20-minute survivals, 20 wave defense, etc. This is the one that I would use with the defensive mod. But of course, you can swap this out for something else if you want to. You can also swap Hall of Malevolence out for something else as well if you like. But I just like having it on there because damage increase in the 1, why would I say no to that? The 3 is already really insane, right? So as much power strength as possible. Umbral Intensify is being buffed up by Umbral Vitality and vice versa. Power Drift, Augur Secrets, Transient Fortitude, and Blind Rage. Augur Message for the duration, same with Narrow-Minded, to counteract the -2 duration on Transient Fortitude. We don't need to counteract the efficiency on Blind Rage because if we go ahead and we take a look at the 1 and the 3, you can see that they only take 39 energy. You can get that back really fast with the likes of Xeneric, so there's really no need. That, and it lasts for 48 seconds on the 1 and the exact same on the 3 with those insane numbers. So you have 69.6% damage bonus on your Hall of Mirrors, and then you have a 696. Now, this is a percentage, but it is actually multiplicative, right? So the only thing that's percentage based is the damage reduction. You have 95% damage reduction that can exceed 95%, right? And you'll see that the damage increase is multiplicative rather than the percentage based because like the likes of Chroma's buff is percentage based. You have to self damage to get that. That works more like a Serration, where having Eclipse, like your damage is just going to be absolutely insane. So the build that I'm using on my Dread is a Serration Split Chamber for our damage and multi-shot, Vital Sense, and Point Strike for critical damage, critical chance. Then we have my Dual Stat Elemental for Viral. Now, the reason that we're running Viral versus armored enemies is because we want the Viral proc, right? We're focusing on that Viral proc because we're going to be dealing a lot of damage anyway, especially with Mirage. We want this Viral proc to happen so the enemy has 50% less health. So then whenever we do get our slash procs, which are going to be amplified because we're dealing more damage overall, we have 100 munitions for our slash procs, then they have to eat away at far less health, meaning that we have a higher potential to one-shot enemies or two-shot if we weren't using our buffs, right? Prime Being of Corrupted is on here to buff up our slash procs, and if I was running gas, it would do a even bigger buff, right? So that's a mechanic called double dipping and triple dipping. Slash procs get that 55% bonus twice, and then your gas procs get it 3 times, is the easiest way to explain it. Things like Warframe Builder, websites like Warframe Builder, don't take your stacking status procs into consideration whenever they're calculating DPS. So that's why builds like this are usually frowned upon, because they put it together in a site and it's like, oh, well, that number isn't very, very high. But it's almost impossible for those sites to calculate that into their final DPS, because it's all about if these things happen to proc, that'll determine the final DPS number, is what I'm trying to say. So, you know, it's complicated, but just trust me in this one. You'll see whenever we jump into it. This guy's just randomly sending me messages going DND. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna spawn in 3 heavy gunners, right? They're gonna be standing still. We don't get any damage bonus on these guys because they're standing still. That's only for your melee. That's a common misconception. Anytime that I don't mention that in a video where I'm demonstrating damage, then I always get that comment. We're gonna be going for headshots, and what you're paying attention to is the viral proc if it happens, right? So that's gonna half the enemy's health, and the slash proc, which is gonna be dealing damage to the enemies behind their armor. Now, the higher your base damage number is, or the higher your damage number is on these guys whenever we let go of our arrow, that's going to determine how deadly your slash proc is, right? So let's say, for example, we get an orange crit. The slash proc that we get from an orange crit, if we happen to get one, is going to deal more damage than if we were to get a slash proc from a yellow crit, right? For the sake of this test with this weapon, with this exact build, right? That's not true across the board. You might have a more damaging weapon that has a bigger yellow crit than the Dread's orange crit, but you know, that's a completely different thing that we're talking about. So let's go ahead, and we're gonna go for this headshot because we get that multiplicative increase on the headshot. So there's the slash procs, and you can see we got 2 of them because of the multi-shot. So that's half of the enemy's health gone. Now, it's really inconsistent because you're looking to get the viral proc plus the slash proc, and if we did get that, and then we got another slash proc on top of that, so this next shot is also a slash proc, we would have 2-shotted this guy, right? So we got a single slash proc, so it's probably not going to kill him, right? Let's just go ahead. There's another slash proc. So you can get your slash procs pretty consistently because of that 100 munitions. But really what you're looking for, there was the orange crit slash proc. Really what you're looking for is the crit slash proc and also viral proc. And then that is, you know, you setting yourself up for either a 1-shot or a 2-shot with no buff, right? So if we just go ahead and we lay into this guy, you'll see that he'll die rather fast. Hopefully. There we go. So that's because you're applying so many different slash procs to this guy. He's taking far more damage, right? We also have cruise projection on, so he has 30% less armor, which is also helping out with our damage too. So this is without any Mirage buffs. Okay, so there is the orange crit right there. You see that it gets amplified by a lot more, and he dies really, really fast. Okay, so we didn't actually get any of our viral procs there, which is unfortunate. So it's somewhat inconsistent damage, but it's like the highest burst DPS that you can get, implying that you do manage to get that viral proc and the slash proc going at the same time, right? So let's go ahead and use our Eclipse buff. And remember, you have to be standing in the light to get the Eclipse buff, right? And then watch this. So there's our viral plus our slash. We got really lucky that time. 1-shot at the guy. And the reason it 1-shot is because we had an insane slash proc because of our Eclipse buff, and he had 50% less health. So here we go. No viral proc that time, but because we dealt higher base damage, the slash procs dealt way more. And the same thing goes for this guy. He's going to die extremely fast as well. So that's Eclipse. Insane damage buff, insane damage potential. Now let's go ahead and throw our Hall of Mirrors into the mix as well. Now I do have an augment on called Hall of Malevolence, and this is going to increase the damage that the doppelgangers deal by 5% per every kill, and this stacks up to 50% bonus damage, right? So if we go ahead and we spawn in some chargers beside these guys as well, like so, simulate. If we hit R1, you'll notice Whenever we get these kills, implying I can kill them. Okay, so we have 15, 25, 30, 40, 45. This is our 50. Okay, and we just go ahead and we shoot these guys in the head. You notice that you're more likely to apply things like your viral proc and your slash procs, and you also deal a little bit of bonus damage. Now, because the viral proc ran out, he got all that health back, which is really, really unfortunate, but you can see that we're hitting our viral procs and our slash procs far more consistently now that we have multiple shots going at the one time, right? So if we were to just go ahead and just lay into the guy's head, the guy behind him died faster than the guy that we're actually shooting at. So let's go ahead and get our Hall of Mirrors buff again, because we're going to need it. We don't necessarily need the entire thing. Just get the damage buff up as much as we can. So 30%. This guy's still alive. He is 35%. So there's our viral plus our slash. Two shots kill with your one active. So you have a little bit more bonus damage because of your one being up. You can hit multiple enemies because of the doppelganger shooting horizontally, and you're also more likely to proc things like your viral proc and your slash proc because you're just landing more shots on those enemies, right? So it's really nice. It helps out with your damage across the board, right? So if you're a newer player and you're struggling, you know, and maybe you want to apply more corrosive procs to enemies or something to strip away their armor so they're easier kills, pick up Mirage. Like, you can get her rather early, right? So if you're really struggling that bad and you just want a really easy to mod damage buff made for him, Mirage is great. Like, she's insane. So let's go ahead and use the 1 and the 3 at the same time. We won't need to go ahead and pick up the bonus damage from getting the additional kills with the 1, but there you go. It's like you can see the damage for yourself. Now, that time we didn't get a slash proc or a viral proc, so dealt no damage. Okay, so there you go. So with the build that I'm running on my bow and arrow, it's the highest burst DPS in the sense that whenever everything works, then it's going to die really, really fast, right? You can run that type of build on pretty much any crit rifle. So let's take, for example, the Bolter Prime. You can mod that for crit. So we have our Prime Being of Corrupted, 100 munitions, Serration, Split Chamber, Point Strike, Vital Sense, and then our Viral. So it's the exact same build, more or less. And, you know, it more or less does the exact same thing, right? You have your slash procs, and you also have your viral procs, half in their health. But because it's like a different damage type on your weapon, right? So you have more puncture over slash or impact, because this hasn't got any slash at all, is what I'm trying to say. They die really, really fast, right? So you can still see we have those slash procs, and they're still huge. That's mainly because we do have our, what's it called? Our Eclipse buff. But at the same time, we can do the testing without. You kill them really, really fast. So you can replace the Prime Beam mod with the likes of Bladed Rounds, Argon Scope, Shred, Prime Shred, and other elements, Vigilante Armaments. It's really down to you. It's just I like having those Prime Beam mods on or those Expel mods on because I like having the bonus damage on my slash procs and the likes, right? So this is a corrosive Expel build on my Akjagara, I think. Let's just go ahead and take a look. Double check. Yeah, so primed, Expel, Corrupted, corrosive damage, lethal, Torrent, Hornet Strike, Borrowed Fusion for damage, multi-shot fire rate, prime target cracker for critical damage, prime pistol gambit for critical chance. Okay, so we're going to be dealing high damage numbers because of the crit. We're going to deal a lot of slash procs, which is good because slash is a stackable status proc. Viral is not, so it's good to differentiate between the two. I'll show gas damage in a bit. So you'll notice that we can apply a lot of slash procs, and you have a lot of different damage over time, right? So it's more about just spamming the trigger. And now you use that with your 1 and your 3, and they get amplified by a lot. Of course, you're just dealing more damage, but the slash procs are amplified. You get 14k per tick, which is really, really insane, right? So let's go ahead and use the likes of a comb, which is a shotgun. And if you hit 100% status chance before multi-shot, then every single pellet has 100% status chance, meaning it has the chance to proc the likes of a slash proc. If you're running gas, a gas proc, I'm running gas and magnetic because I'm kind of forced into it because of my Riven. I've got status chance, cooled, fire rate. So status chance, 120% at least is what you're looking for in a Riven. Cooled is not good because, like I said, it forces me either into magnetic, blast, cold damage, etc. Fire rate is really, really good in the comb because it just ups your DPS, and then minus damage to infested or the likes, just something that isn't really a negligible stat is what you're looking to get there. So like on majority of Rivens, things like zoom, recoil, etc. is what you're looking to get there. Plus recoil is a negative, I think. But yeah, so just throw on the rest of your status. We've got gas, which is a stackable status chance, so we can apply it multiple times because of the toxin cloud that it leaves. And you'll see that even though the build, the elements, and the damage types that I have equipped on the comb aren't necessarily the most damaging versus these heavy gunners, we're still going to deal a lot of damage, right? So I'll show you without the buff, right? So if we just lay into these guys, the damage over time is pretty hefty, right? It goes down really, really fast. But then if we were to use our 1 and our 3, these guys die extremely fast. The damage over time is insane. Now, imagine if you were using the likes of Cruiser Projection. If you're using the likes of Cruiser Projection and these guys have no armor, you're dealing higher base damage numbers. The damage over time is going to be insane, and it's going to take you into really, really deep end endgame content. By endgame content, I mean survival, defense, etc. if you're playing in a group of 4 times CP. So, yeah, Mirage is really, really insane at helping out with the type of builds that I like to run, where I'm relying on the likes of gas procs and slash procs and all that stuff. But of course, if you're just using your straight up damage, like let's say for example, I think a really popular weapon would be the Corinth is really popular. I of course run hunter munitions on this as well. I do have a Riven, but let's say you didn't have a Riven, you'd replace that with the likes of Vigilante Armaments. If I could, let's just go ahead and throw that one off and throw on regular charged shell, because not everybody will have that. I'm pretty sure it's only been in borrow once. So yeah, so this is the type of build you'd be running. That's radiation. So if we go ahead and we replace the fire with contagious spread, we've got corrosive damage on there. So this would be the type of build that you would run in your Corinth. And then if you buff yourself up with Mirage with the Corinth, you'll see that the bad guys, they just die. You know, I also have the Arcane Tempo buff, which helped out with the comb as well. But, you know, slash procs for days. Corrosive procs, stripping away enemy armor, making them easier kills and all the likes. So yeah, check this out. See if I can do it. You hit that guy with the doppelganger to my left, so whoop whoop, and he's dead. So Mirage is a great frame. Just press 1, press 3, ship bad guys, they are dead. Hopefully you learned a little bit about how I like to run my weapons with the slash procs and the gas procs, especially if I'm using any sort of damage buffing frame, generally. Mirage has got some interesting interactions in her kit with the likes of kit gun, arcanes, and all that jazz. So if I can type kit gun correctly, we'll use my I made this smile face and put on Pax Seeker, right? And we'll buff ourselves up. And you'll notice that the little projectiles that come out are actually like really, really damaging as well, because we're buffing ourselves up with Mirage. Of course, this isn't the best kit gun to do it with, but that guy over there, okay, I haven't even touched him and he's dead. So of course not the best gun to do it with, but still insane regardless. So that's how to play Mirage, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button below. If you want to see more Warframe content from me, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.